What is the test for trademark infringement? Well, broadly speaking, under the Trademarks Act, there are three key grounds for claiming trademark infringement. The first one is pretty easy to spot. That's where someone uses an identical mark in relation to identical goods or services. So let's take an example of Briffa, which you won't be surprised to hear is a registered trademark. If someone was to use this identical mark in relation to legal services, it would be an easy case of trademark infringement. The second ground for trademark infringement is pretty commonly relied upon, but a lot harder to assess. This occurs when someone uses an identical or a similar mark in relation to identical or similar goods and services, and there exists a likelihood of confusion. So again, taking my Briffa example, if someone was to register the mark Briffa in relation to conveyancing services, we would be saying that the marks are similar and that the goods or services in this case are also similar, such that there's a likelihood of confusion. You can imagine that that aspect of the test tends to get debated a bit more, so there are granular ways in which you can assess the marks. We look at the visual similarities, the oral similarities, and the conceptual similarities. You can also compare the goods and services based on the kind, nature, and intended purpose of the goods or services. And key consideration is often paid to how distinctive the earlier mark is and how much attention is being paid by the likely consumer. What you have to show is that your earlier mark has a reputation in the UK and that the use of this third-party sign is without due cause or takes unfair advantage of the repute of your earlier mark. The depth of this test is often overlooked, but if we take another example, let's say a well-known trademark like Coca-Cola. If a third party would come along and try to use Coca-Cola or register a trademark for that mark in relation to something very different like hotel services, then there's a chance that consumers would go to that hotel assuming that Coca-Cola had moved into the industry, and maybe they'd book rooms purely on the back of Coca-Cola's reputation. This is the unfair advantage that the Act talks about, and if the hotel proves to be rubbish, this is the damage to the repute of the trademark that's also covered.